All right, what's going on, everybody? So I'm doing a full weapon breakdown, kind of quick here. So we're gonna go over all the different weapons that SCP-5K has to offer. The AK 103 and 104 both chambered in 7.62 by 39. I like the 104 a little bit better. The 74 mic and the 105 are both chambered in 545 by 39. So the recoil patterns are a little bit better. The AS Val, if you come down to that, is 9 by 39, and so is the SR3M. Those are both by 9 by 39, a little bit higher rate of fire that you have going on. So you'll come down after that to the Mark 18, chamber in 5.56, high rate of fire, pretty good recoil control. Going down to the Glial, that's the same, 5.56 by 45. The 22-inch has, of course, less recoil, but your 21 has easier swipe, like movement left and right. You can get down barrel faster. Sig 5.53. You're working with 5.56 also, but now when you get to the Romeos, you're working with 7.62 by 39. It's a little bit more vertical recoil you'll have, and you'll notice. So the SIGs, some of my favorite. The Mark 18 is one of my favorite. AK 104 is one of my favorite. I've got a lot of favorites, but one that puts in the most work is probably the 74 mic. So you got the AUG, right? 5.56, the Tavor. You're working with also 5.56 with that. And now you start getting down into your battle rifles here. Your Mark 17s. These are 308 rounds, 7.62 by 51. And same thing with the SA-58. Striborgs, you're talking about submachine guns now, 9 by 19. Quick rate of fire, pretty good vertical recoil because it's a 9 by 19 and a submachine gun. MP5, same thing, 9 by 19. The only one that is not 9 by 19 is your UMP 45, which is 45 ACP, and you got your MP7, which is 4.6 by 30. Pretty devastating and fast, but armor piercing. P95 by 7 by 28. And we start getting down to the shotguns here. My favorite is the M4 Benelli 12 gauge. Mossberg takes a little bit too long to pump, but they're all 12 gauges. So we start moving down. The Draco, of course, 7.62 by 39, just a little bit smaller. I personally don't use the Draco as much as I probably should, but if I go back and forth, we're going to start out with the AK-103 and the 1911. The 1911 chambered in 45 ACP. So we're going to go to your sidearms. M19, that's your Glock, okay? 9 by 19 is chambered in. And then M9A3, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. That's 9 by 19 as well. P320 is your 9 by 19. The only one that's not 9 by 19 in any one of those semi-autos is your 5.7. That's what they call it, a 5.7 because it's a 5.7 by 28. You got your Smith & Wesson 360. That's a 357 Magnum. Your Stealth Hunter's a 44 Magnum. And then last but not least, my two favorites are your Smith & Wesson 500s. They're, well, explanatory, 50 calibers, and the recoil is ridiculous, but it does some damage. So let's go ahead and get into it. Normally I do not have an ACOG on my AK, but I just wanted to put that on there to show you all the different sights that you have available for every single weapon. There's some weapons have more options than others. And then for your canted, if you have a long range, for example, your ACOG or a further distant, you can change back and forth. Personally, I use my R button, or if you use Xbox controller or some kind of controller, I use my down button. to change back and forth between the two of those. Now, with that said, the devs on this game, they have done a great job at utilizing the weight of weapons, meaning the more forward weight you have to, if you got a silencer, a big silencer like this right here, the longer it takes for you to maneuver that weapon from left to right or up and down onto your enemy and get on target. I haven't really noticed a big change between grips, like vertical grip, your angle grip. I'm personally an angle grip kind of person on my primaries. Pistols, they're all pretty much the same. Your 5.7 has, well, the greatest magazine capacity is 20, right? I like the Glock because I personally own one. I have no qualms with SIGs. I think SIG's good. Do I personally own one? No. But the 5.7, if you need a larger magazine and you're good with headshots, man, I would go with the 5.7 all day. The only downside is it just doesn't pack the punch as a 9x19, and so I'm gonna kind of show the difference. And oops, I did not mean to press that. It's gonna take about 2 magazines to take this guy down with 7.62x39. Oh yeah, about 2 magazines, like I said. So just remember that if you're playing the game here. The Golem is no joke. He will, one swipe, he'll take your ass out. So moving on, we got, let's see here, what are we messing with? Yeah, the 5.7 is pretty good, and like I said, I always go with a shorter silencer on mine, just because it's easier to move left and right to get on target. The more weight that you add to the front of your weapon, the longer it takes to sweep. And I love that the fact that the weight of the weapon is taken into account of this game. So you look at your weapons here, and remember when you load them out, if you put a long silencer on it, it's going to take a little bit longer to move left and right. You'll see that here probably with this. I'm not really moving left and right, but there you go. See, it takes a little bit longer to sweep. So just remember when you're doing that with your primary, that's one of the most important things. Glock 17, probably one of my favorites. I usually go with the Glock 17, small suppressor, and either a flashlight on it. I just went with the red dot just to go with an example. RMR is probably my favorite choice for sights, for my sidearms. But there's your vertical recoil pattern. I'll do that next with pretty much the rest of the weapons, kind of show you their vertical recoil pattern. But overall, when you build your weapon, just remember, if you put heavier stuff on there, it's going to take longer to move. So angle grip, I always go with the angle grip and a shorter suppressor. For me, that alleviates that time for me to get on target, which, oh yeah, this thing's a monster. And that vertical recoil pattern on, if you have trouble with recoil, man, one's the way to go. Let's see here. I already picked that thing up. I didn't show you the recoil pattern on this one though. Pretty vertical, not too much horizontal going on. P90, I hate its stock sights. Do not use its stock sight. Put whatever you're used to putting on there, micro tall, whatever, hollow sun. I mean, usually I run hollow sun because they're green, easier for me to adapt. I like running green visibles But for now, I'm just going to put on the flashlight just to show you guys how wide lens flashlight works. Recoil pattern on this one, pretty good too. I mean, a lot of the D-class guys, a lot of the D-class guys use this, but if you're talking about big enemies, you're not going to want to use a P90 or an MP7 or an MP9. You're going to want to go with something larger caliber, 7.62 by 39, 7.62 by 51, or even 5.56. 5.56 is a pretty, I'd say, middle land, you know. So here you go with this one. This is probably one of my favorite weapons in my top 5. Attack MLG, just gives belt fed, and I'm usually the person that is pressing or support. I'm not the best shot, so what I usually do is I just suppress by fire and let my guys or my teammates take care of the work. Which ain't too bad for 150 rounds. It's pretty manageable. By far in my top 10 of all the weapons they have. And the devs, they're working on making it even, all the weapons even more modifiable. I'm just gonna go with, you know, what makes sense for this. Now I've looked it up. I thought this was chambered in 338 Lapua, which I believe it is, but online I've been seeing 308, which is strange to me. So I don't know if it's 338 or if it's a 308, but personally I own a 300 Win Mag, which, I mean, there ain't too much difference between the three of them other than the velocity and before the drop off of the bullet, which this game there really isn't anything like. You're not reaching out miles out here, so it doesn't matter if you have a 308, 300 Win Mag, or a 338. It'll all do the same damage, but that's the recoil pattern for this one. Personally, I love this sniper rifle. If I have an option to have it, I would choose it. Now, the SIG 553, definitely in my top 10. Just the reload time's a little slow for me. We'll get to that in a second. You'll see it. I hope I'm not talking too much here. I'm just trying to explain what I've experienced with all these weapons, which I have. Man, I probably got about 200 hours into this game already. Maybe 100 to 200 hours. Round burst. I do love that about this. These boys got the 3-round burst. It's one of the only weapons that have that option. Which, if you're more of a I suck at fully auto kind of guy, or I'm not as fast of a trigger puller for semi-auto, that might be the way to go for you. You know, going with the SIG 553 and the short-barreled rifle, of course, is going to have more recoil. So we'll go ahead and do that. So not too much more recoil on the vertical pattern, but I mean, the 553s are excellent. Now here's the 7.62 model of it. I'm just putting on some different sights so you can see what the different sights are. Now normally I don't do canted unless it's a 308 or larger of a round. There's really no point in having something canted, you know what I mean, not unless you're trying to reach out there. I like canted, okay. 7.62, yeah. 5.56, I'm not going. I'm probably gonna have a red dot or a hollow sun or something like that on there. Like I said, the more weight that you add to the front of your weapon, the longer it takes to maneuver it left and right. but of course 7.62 is always going to have more vertical recoil. And then of course you got the short barreled version of the 7.62 by 39. That's what the SBR means, which most people should know that, but if you don't, that's okay. SBR, short barreled rifle. A little bit more vertical recoil pattern to be expected, and that's what I love about how the creators, they really took their time on the mechanisms and the weight and the response of all these weapons. So the Galil Ace 21-inch, not my favorite. I like the 22 a little bit better. But Galil's tried and true. They're strong. Personally, I would have one. I just don't have the cash to buy one right now. They're like your AKs of the 5.56 world. You drop them in some, maybe not mud, but you get some dust and sand in there. You're not going to have a malfunction like a Mark 18 or an M4. Alright, what are we working with next here? Yep, the 22. So this is probably, oh man, I want to put it in my top 5, but it's definitely in my top 10. I'll give it that. D-class, they tend to drop these a lot, and if you get to a weapon bench in the game, you can modify it to how you want it. The vertical recoil pattern's pretty good. The reload time's fast. I mean, dude, it's on point. Now, for me, I've never been a big bullpup fan, so the AUG, don't get me wrong, it's pretty good. Recoil pattern's not too bad, but personally, I've never been a bullpup fan. Alright, reload time. Takes a little bit longer. Recoil pattern's a little bit higher for a 5.56. It's almost like a 7.62 recoil pattern, if you saw that. Okay. Another bullpup kind of model here is the Tavor here. Some people make fun of me for the way I say it, or the Tavor. I say Tavor. It's not bad. I like it. Definitely not in my top 10. But if I had to pick it up over a sidearm, I'm picking this thing up. Recoil pattern, not terrible. Still looks more like a 7.62 than anything. Now my SCAR. Now this is the short-barreled version, the CQB version of the SCAR. You're gonna have a lot more recoil off of it. Personally, I would rather have the regular version rather than the short barrel version or the CQB version. 20 rounds and you're already shooting up to the sky, you see what I mean? Let's go ahead and get that regular. They call it the MK17, the Mark 17, but it's really the SCAR. Chambered in 308, both of them are. I probably already said that at the beginning, but just in case you guys forgot, it is a 308 rifle. It's a battle rifle. Now these are the ones that I would put a canvas sight on, because you can reach out there and touch some people. Recoil pattern not as significant as the CQB one. And of course my top 5, just because I've personally used it the most, the Mark 18, the M4, just this model of weapon I'm very used to. I've used it for years, probably 13, 14 years. So I love 5.56. It's like a happy medium. Doesn't have a lot of oomph, but it has some penetration power. And the recoil is not too bad, and the rate of fire on that thing is ridiculous for a 5.56. This is the same thing. It's just another Mark 18, just a different color. I'm not gonna demonstrate that because they're the exact same thing. Also another one, another Mark 18, and lastly another Mark 18. Okay, so they got different colors. You look back here, you got some black ones up against the wall. Here, for me, I like the AK-74U. Don't really use it too often. Foldable, collapsible stock. It's not really my cup of tea, to be honest with you. I'd rather have the AK-104 personally. But I am glad that they added this one in there. Same thing with the Draco. They added the AK Draco into here too. Come on. Nope. There we go. That's what I was trying to get. So the MP9, this little motherfucker, sorry, excuse my language, this little thing puts in work, but if you start going up against big enemies like SCP-610, the Golem, you're going to be putting in a lot of rounds. 9x19s are not the best for heavily armored enemies, especially your guards who are heavily armored. It takes about like 9 rounds, but I mean 9 rounds, you just saw how fast that went through them. So MP9 not too bad if you got good control. Now I like my MP5s, especially the integrally suppressed one right here. This is probably in my top 10. Granted, it is still 9x19, but you hear the difference. It's so much more quiet. And the enemies are drawn, especially the zombies. Look at that vertical recoil, almost 0. So it might even be in my top 10. So if I see one laying around, I'm going to pick it up. These are the black version of your scars. You know, same thing here. It's just these are pretty much all the same things. Now the SA-58, I would prefer to have the Scar over this one. For some reason, this has a lot more recoil on it than it should, and the stopping power is no difference from the Scar personally, from what I've seen. See how much recoil you get off of that. I know they have this weapon variant. If you guys are ready or not players, they have this weapon in ready or not as well, which I tend not to ever use. Just black version weapons of what we had off the table. They have, you know, if that's what you enjoy. Yep. I feel like we started with the AK-103. I can't remember, so I'm just going to do it again if we did. AK-103 is okay. My 104 is what I prefer. But we're going to put a different sight on it this time, if I haven't, which you use this. See that's your iron sight. So with this specific sight, when you change between canted, you can actually get your iron sight in there too, which is kind of retarded if you ask me. Iron sights are true, I get it, but if you got two sights on your weapon, why you don't do that? Doesn't make any sense. I like that the devs put that in there, but still, I personally wouldn't be doing that. Where my AK's at? Where'd you go? No. Mark, what are you doing? This is definitely not the AK wall. Oh, here we go. Found it. Come on. Wait, no. You know what? Ah, yes. The 104. This is my preferred AK for the 7.62 by 39. I am going to... If I see a 104, I'm picking it up. It's in my top 5. Yes, it is. I probably said there's more top 5s than I should. So maybe top 6. I don't know. But it's definitely up there. It's that vertical recoil for a 7.62 is almost nothing. And 7.62 puts some damage down on your heavier armored enemies. Now, your 105, I told you that's chambered. It's not in 7.62. Your 105 is chambered in 5.45 by 39. Same with your 74 mic. If you don't really know the difference between that, it's a little bit smaller but faster of a round. So it's more armor piercing, not as heavy of an oomph, and it should be less recoil, quote unquote, should be. So if you have a problem with recoil pattern, I would go with the 105 or the 74 mic. That's just my personal opinion. But I do prefer the 74 mic over the 105. That's just a personal preference. I think it has less recoil. And it feels good. I could be wrong on the recoil pattern, but I prefer it. Just try to get this Benelli here. Once again, this is my top 10. The Benelli M4. Remember, when you add things like the salvo or the silencer to it, it takes longer to move left and right to get on target. But less sound is less attraction to the enemies for last known location. So that does help. The only downside I wished that you had was, I wished I had a shotgun that had a magazine or a clip on it, like the Saiga 12 gauge. Or even, the Benelli, you could have an attachment for it. I wish it had that attachment or that availability to put a 10 round mag attachment to it. Now here we go. We got the Mossberg pump, also 12 gauge. Definitely not my top 10. It's, in real life, yeah, pump shotguns are a little bit more, what's the word, reliable, I guess. I personally have an FN, and its pump holds 8, and 7 tube, 1 in the chamber. I would never get rid of it. I'm not gonna get rid of it just because of how reliable it is. But if I could have a Benelli M4 on top of that, I would do that all day. Alright, so let's see here what we got. What are we going with next here? So the VSS, not bad. I personally don't use it. I don't pick it up. That's personal preference, I guess. It's chambered in 9x39, a little bit heavier of a round. So if you do pick it up, you're not working with a 9x19, you're working on a little bit of a fatter round. Puts a little bit more weight down. Recoil, of course, is going to be more, but that rate of fire is ridiculous. If you want to put some rounds down, go ahead and pick that big boy up. That's not what I want. There you go. Come on. There we go. God bless. Now the AS valve, same thing. I probably said it already. It's a 9x39. A little bit fatter of a round than your 9x19, so you're gonna put more damage down on your guards that are heavily armored, or your SCPs, your anomalies. And it's got good recoil pattern, not terrible. Oh shit, out of ammo here. But the recoil pattern, man, it is. I'd rather have my 5.56. That's just my preference. There's not too many weapons chambered in the 9x39, but this, I believe, is the last one chambered in 9x39. The AS Val is probably the one that I would pick up over all 3 of them. Just because of the control, the recoil pattern, etc. And the rate of fire. Well, it looks to me like we have completed most of the pistols. The only thing really left here, let me just make sure. Yeah, I've already gotten that. Are your revolvers. I am a revolver fan. I own, let me see here, 3 revolvers. A 357, which is what this is. Another one that shoots 45 ACP, and 410, which is the Judge, Taurus Judge. And then I also own a 454 Taurus, and that 454 also shoots 45 Colt and 454, which 454, man, is pretty much the same as the 500 Smith & Wesson. 44 Magnum is what we're just picking up right now. The Smith & Wesson quote-unquote Stealth Hunter. This is a 44 Magnum. Pretty good. I like it. I can't remember if it holds 6 or 5. We'll find out. Okay, so it holds 6. So that's the benefit of the 44. It holds 6 rounds. And it's pretty vertical on its recoil. Now, personally, I am a Smith & Wesson 500 fan. But if you can't control it, there's really no attachment for the snubbies. If you looked at the other snub nose, there's no attachments for it. But if you're good with recoil patterns, this is the one to go with. It puts down almost anything in one shot. Just takes a little while to reload. But here's the recoil pattern. Kind of all over the place. And the long barrel version, the only difference is you can actually put a sight on it, which, I mean, I'm an iron sights kind of guy when it comes to revolvers, but I'm just doing this for you guys. You just gotta take your time with it, you know. But the recoil pattern is pretty similar to the snub nose. Just a little bit less spread. I'm not going to pick those up. There's no reason in testing those. But I mean, that's pretty much essentially all the weapons here. I hope they add more modifications to it. Oh, you know what I did forget? This one. This big boy. This 50 BMG. Now this one, man, you pull the trigger as fast as you want, and that thing just unloads. So that's the benefit of this one. It has some recoil on it like a motherfucker. Sometimes you'll lose sight of the reticle. You know. So I hope you're a good shot if you pick this bad boy up. See how fast you can pull that trigger? Yeah, man. But overall, that is my weapons overview. I told you my top 5, my top 10s. Those are personal choices and preferences, and I hope this helps you guys out to kind of pick what weapon you want. I am going to do a full enemy breakdown here, so that is soon to come, so thank you guys for watching.